what's leadership 2.0? It's two words. It's truth and trust. In every organization, that is what it's got to be about. Building truth and trust. Think about it. How many times do you go to a conference room, particularly people in your function, and hear, how are we going to spin this? Spin it? That's the wrong focus. Truth. We ought to have neon lights in every conference room. Only truth spoken here. But truth will only come if trust has been built relentlessly over the years by people knowing you have their back, by supporting them when they're down, by all the things you do. All the things you do. And that truth, trust, pull, and push ends up creating a culture that doesn't have a problem when a crisis comes. They tell the indispensable story. So I think if you can just get a culture of truth and trust, which I thought by the time we left there we had, but it took a long time because corporations, and I see it all the time, we're fighting to get it in our companies. The first, it's like the budget. They come in with a phony budget, and then and then you're pulling on like a dentist. You're in there trying to find the cavities to get the budgets to come up a little bit. Oh, and then they got more money, and rather than just laying it out, having a truth discussion about what they need and what they can do with it, and trusting them to do the right thing. When you get that, it takes time. It doesn't happen the first day. But it's incredibly, in private equity, after about 18 months, you get it all the time. Because the interests are totally aligned. We can't give these people promotions. We're both in the game of trying to fix the company and sell it, or merge it. So we're aligned totally on both sides of the table. They don't have to come in with their perfect white shirt and their perfect suit to make the plastic pitch that sort of get them the next job. They're in there to get rich. And they own the company in some extent. So you get away from a lot of that corporate spin junk that really paralyzes a company. Spin slows companies. And when you get the spin out with truth on the table, you can act. You can act quickly. The CEO and the CCO have a unique relationship. Total trust, very intimate, in it together, buy in on the mission, buy in on where you're going, where the company's going, how they're going to get there, et cetera. And oftentimes, it conflicts with some of the spin coming from the CCO's peers. And I've seen in company after company, the CCO giving up their peers and not having enough time with their peers and whispering in the CEO's ear things about the peers. Now, that may not be an issue. I may be imagining this, but I've seen it in 40 companies. And I saw it in the company I had. And it is a challenge for CCOs, in my view, because their relationship is closer to the CEO than any other person on the staff, at least in the companies I'm involved with. And as a result, they know more about also what's going on in the bowels of the company. So managing that balance and keeping the integrity with the peers is always a tough job. The peers inevitably get mad at the CCO because he or she said something to the CEO that causes them some grief in the truth and trust area.
How does a CCO get comfortable going into the CEO and developing that trust and relationship and making it happen? If, something like this is too hard to bring the hard issues, to develop the trust that you've been talking about.
Well, I wouldn't put this in the category of dealing with their own CEO, because undoubtedly they've developed a special relationship or they wouldn't be there. I think that I can't imagine coming to work as a CCO without being a close partner of the CEO. I mean, I don't know how that could happen. So can it happen?
Can it?
I mean, how
applause.
can you do your job?
So, well, let's talk about trust then and the straight talk. So just applause. We'll try and do like a applause poll. Straight talk, talking truth to the CEO. Easy, clap. Not bad.
Yeah.
It's good.
No, I think that would be, otherwise there's no job. Otherwise there's no, I mean, in the end, of the 5 or 6 things that a leader has to have is one, a clear, in the bones, in the skin, in the blood mission statement that everybody can smell, talk about in their sleep, meet in the elevator, meet people on the airplane, and describe their company's mission, where they're going. And without the CEO and the CCO together on that, and you communicating it in 19 ways until you can gag, that's critical. The other thing a leader of today has to do is they have to get rid of clutter. You know the Olympics, we always have the curling, and you see the broom out in front of the anchor there, and a leader has to get. A leader can't say take risks, do this, and then have 18 barriers. Legal, check with this, check with that. You got 15 signatures on the thing for approval. Can't have that. A leader's got to get rid of that clutter. And you've got to be talking to them all the time about the clutter that's there. Look, you're talking about doing this and this and this. How can we do it with all the things that are in the way? Approval of this, approval of that, check with that. It's your job to raise hell about it because it's not matching, the words aren't matching the action. And when the words don't match the action, that what the employees feel, I think it's the CCO's job to scream. I can't be selling this pablum when there's a block there. You can't do it.
You can't.
I wouldn't hire you unless I liked the hell out of you. That I wanted to have lunch with you, I wanted to have beers with you after work, that I wanted to hang with you. And that overwhelmingly, and I presumed that you were bright and all that, but I really, more than anything, really liked hanging around with you. You know, and that would overwhelmingly be the issue. And I thought you had good judgment when we talked, but mainly, I don't need 3 things. The first one is so overwhelming to a person like that. You know, Joyce Hurd, who I had initially, and some other people, loved baseball, and our first interview, we stayed up till midnight talking about baseball, stuff like that. I mean, hanging, people you felt you could trust. I think the CEO's got to be a brother or sister with that person. I would hope you all have that relationship. And it sounds like many of you do. But that overwhelms everything else to me. You are in many ways. Now, that said, in today's world, you've got to have some MasterCard thinking that brings an analytical skill to the game if you want to be at the frontier of things. Otherwise, the thing I just gave you was the one that would be the perfect fireman. Trust beyond belief. Now the question is, do you have some of the skills of today's CCO? And I would have to ask you a few things like that. What you would do to use data and other things to make us more effective.